and they ventured into the Catalina Strait, leaving behind the harbor and the lights of the land. In the vastness of the open ocean, their small boat—
Maybe it's just a fish. But as they looked out into the water, they saw a dark shadow circling the yacht. It was a shark. The group quickly scrambled onto the deck, fear in their eyes. "What do we do?" Russell yelled, panic rising in his voice. Jerry, the most level-headed of the group, took charge. "Everyone stay calm," he said. "We need to figure out a way to scare the shark away." They quickly searched the yacht for anything they could use as a weapon. All they found were some brooms and mops, but Jerry had an idea. "Let's bang these against the side of the yacht," he said. "It might scare the shark away." The group began banging the brooms and mops against the side of the yacht, making as much noise as they could. The shark seemed to take notice, circling closer and closer to the yacht. Suddenly, the shark lunged out of the water and snapped its jaws at the side of the yacht. The group screamed in terror, sure that the shark would break through the thin fiberglass, but the yacht held up and the shark swam away. The group let out a sigh of relief, hugging each other tightly. "That was close," Erica said, her voice shaking. "I think it's time we head back to shore," Russell said. "I don't want a shark on the party yacht." From that day forward, the group never forgot the importance of safety and preparedness when on the water. They made sure to always have proper safety equipment on hand and to be aware of their surroundings. And although they never went back on a party yacht, they remained the best of friends, bonded forever. Alex felt a sharp pain in his leg. He looked down to see a massive great white shark, its razor-sharp teeth sinking deep into his flesh. The force of the attack knocked him off his feet, and he struggled to stay afloat as the shark dragged him underwater. The group of teenagers witnessed a horrifying and violent attack as the shark's teeth sank deep into Alex's flesh, causing him to cry out in pain. The other teenagers screamed and tried to swim away, but the shark was too fast. As the shark circled back around for a second attack, its jaws gaped wide open as it prepared to strike again. This time, it bit down hard on Alex's torso, severing his body in two. The teenagers saw the full extent of the damage it had caused as their friend's lifeless body floated to the surface, torn apart and mangled beyond recognition. They watched in horror as the shark continued to thrash around, hungry for more. The other teenagers in the group realized they were in danger and quickly began to swim away as fast as they could. The water around them was turned up, making it difficult to see where the shark was, but they knew they had to get as far away as possible. As they swam, the teenagers could hear the shark's powerful thrashing in the water behind them, which only spurred them to swim faster. They knew they couldn't outrun the shark, but they hoped to create enough distance between themselves and the shark to give them a chance to reach the shore. Despite the terror and panic they felt, the teenagers remained focused on swimming and tried not to let their fear get the best of them. They swam in a zigzag pattern, hoping to make it harder for the shark to follow them. Eventually, after what felt like an eternity, the group reached the shore. They staggered out of the water, panting and trembling with fear, but relieved to have escaped with their lives. They looked out at the water, watching as the shark continued to thrash around, its massive body visible in the churning waves. The attack of the great white shark sent shock waves through the beach, and people quickly realized that they were in danger. As the other teenagers in the water tried to swim away, people on the shore began to scream and shout, urging them to come back to the beach for any signs of the shark. They used thermal imaging cameras to try to detect the shark's body heat, but they were unable to locate it. As news of the attack spread, more and more emergency services arrived on the scene, including Marine Patrol units and Coast Guard vessels. They scoured the water for any signs of the shark. The beach became crowded with onlookers, and many people were outraged that such a dangerous predator could be lurking so close to shore, and called for increased measures to control shark populations. For the family and friends of Alex, there was no comfort to be found in the aftermath of the attack. They were left to grieve the loss of a young life cut tragically short and to wonder how something so horrific could happen.
Through the calm waters, enjoying the moment's serenity. The natural beauty of the location sets the stage for an unforgettable day. Unbeknownst to them, lurking beneath the waves is a magnificent predator, a great white shark. Known as Titan, this apex predator patrols the coastal waters, a living legend local fishermen and surfers whispered about. A change in the water's current sends shivers down their spines, a subtle warning that something sinister lurks below. But their excitement and love for the ocean blind them to the impending danger. Suddenly, the kayak shudders violently as a massive shape brushes against it. Startled, John and Sarah lock eyes, their wide-eyed glances conveying unspoken fear. The waves around them grow turbulent, a chilling realization dawning upon them. Titan, the legendary great white shark, is nearby. Fear grips their hearts as they see the shadowy figure circling beneath them, its powerful form casting an ominous presence. Adrenaline courses through their veins, urging them to paddle back to shore. But it's too late. The relentless predator is closing in. Determined to protect his friend, John takes the lead. His heart pounds in his chest as he steers the kayak, desperately trying to outmaneuver the mighty predator. With her keen knowledge of marine behavior, Sarah remains remarkably calm, analyzing the shark's movements for any hint of aggression. As they paddle with all their might, the great white shark inches closer, its senses honing in on the kayak. Sarah and John's hearts pound in sync with their strokes, their minds focused solely on survival. Every breath feels like a struggle as they battle against the raging waters and their formidable foe. In a daring and desperate maneuver, they head toward a group of rocks near the shore. The rocky outcrop offers a potential escape route, but they must be swift and coordinated. But just as they catch their breath, a menacing shadow looms beneath the water's surface. Before they can react, Titan strikes again, this time with even greater force. It lunges towards John with lightning speed, its jaws snapping shut dangerously close to his leg. Instinctively, Sarah springs into action, using all her strength to pull John away from the edge of the water. The adrenaline flowed through her veins, giving her superhuman strength. She knows they can't stay on the rocks for long. Titan is relentless and won't give up that easily. In a split-second decision, they dash to the nearby cliff. The rocky terrain offers them a chance to evade the shark's attack. With hearts pounding in their chests, they run as fast as they can. Titan follows with unyielding determination, its powerful form slicing through the water. The chase is heart-stopping, each second feeling like an eternity. Sarah and John reach the cliff's edge just in time, diving into the safety of a hidden cave. Inside the cave, they take a moment to assess their situation. Their kayaks are gone, and they are trapped in the darkness, the sound of the ocean echoing ominously around them. As they huddle in the cave, they can hear the muffled sound of the shark's movements outside. Each passing minute feels like an eternity, and they can't help but wonder if they will make it out alive. But they are determined not to become victims of the sea's most feared predator. Finally, after an eternity, they hear a shift in the water's current. The moment they've been waiting for has arrived. With quick and silent movements, they leave the cave and return to the cliff's edge. They spot a passing fishing boat in the distance and decide to run for it. With adrenaline pumping through their veins, they dive back into the water, swimming with all their might toward the boat. Titan senses their escape and speeds up, closing the distance between them. The boat is their only chance for survival. John and Sarah swim with desperation, their lungs burning and their muscles aching, but they refuse to give up. With a final burst of energy, they reach the boat just as Titan lunges for them one last time. They scramble on board, gasping for breath, and look back to see the great white shark disappearing into the depths of the ocean. Their hearts are still racing, but they are finally safe. As the boat takes them back to shore, they reflect on the harrowing encounter. They know they have faced death and lived to tell the tale, a feat not many can claim. Their respect for the ocean has grown deeper, fueling their unwavering determination to continue exploring its magnificent wonders. They know that despite the dangers, they will return to the water, driven by their love for the ocean and the thrill of adventure. As they step back onto solid ground, their eyes meet and share a knowing glance. They have survived the encounter with Titan, forever changing them. They are no longer just kayakers, but warriors of the sea, forever.
The boat would start up at that point to stay on schedule. The boat was turned on and started slowly moving forward, and the guide continued to explain what they would do upon returning to Freetown. However, the guide's words were drowned out of Michelle's ears as she hyper-focused on the squeaky railing getting progressively louder. It gave way. Within a moment, Michelle found herself splashing in the water in the middle of the shiver of sharks. The rest of the people on the boat barely managed to hold on to each other to not follow Michelle. Roger screamed after his wife and made an attempt to jump in after her, but the guide prevented him from doing that, since the shark would attack him as well, and they would have to save both of them. The moment she fell into the water, Michelle immediately felt the harsh, coarse skin of one of the sharks shred the skin on her back, making her yelp in pain. She flailed her arms in panic as she tried to get to the surface more securely. Normally, Michelle might have had a chance to swim to safety if it was a different shark species in the water with her. But these were bull sharks, and they were hungry. Just as Michelle made eye contact with Roger, she felt a searing pain in her lower thigh, which made her shriek and fall below the surface again. The shark took the move to take the first bite and was quickly out of the way to make way for the next mouth. The guide and the boat's pilot were trying to get the boat closer to Michelle, but it had already moved at least a dozen yards away. Roger was screaming at them to get the boat closer so he could pull his wife to safety, but it wasn't working out at all. Michelle felt another set of teeth clamp down on her ankle, pulling her under the water as a strong force knocked into her ribs, disorienting her. All at once, she felt a tremendous amount of pain as the third shark took hold of her right arm, tearing into it and releasing a red mist in the water around her. The pain was more than too much, so after expressing one final scream with the last of her breath, her consciousness started to fade. The last thing she remembered before waking up in the hospital was her husband's hands clutching her arms and pulling her up from the aquatic hell. According to Roger, Michelle was losing a large amount of blood, so the boat was rushing across the water as fast as it could, while the rest of the peers of the underwater world. As Kai was exploring the reef, he suddenly saw the dark shape of a tiger shark swimming towards him. He recognized the shark immediately and knew that he had to be careful. His heart began to race as the shark circled around him, its sharp teeth glinting in the sunlight. He slowly backed away from the shark, trying to keep some distance between himself and the predator. But the shark was persistent and continued to circle around him. Kai tried to remain calm, remembering his training and how to handle shark encounters. Kai knew that he had to keep his wits about him. He tried to keep his breathing slow and steady, hoping that the shark would eventually lose interest and swim away. But then, without warning, the shark suddenly lunged towards him. Kai felt a sharp pain in his arm as the shark's teeth sank into his flesh. He kicked and flailed, trying to fight off the shark, but it was too strong. As the shark continued to bite down on his arm, Kai remembered the small knife that he always carried with him. With all his strength, Kai plunged the knife into the shark's eye. The shark let go of him immediately, thrashing in pain. Kai swam away as fast as he could, his arm throbbing with pain. He knew that he had to get back to the surface as quickly as possible. He was bleeding profusely from the wound on his arm and was in severe pain. He managed to grab onto a nearby buoy and called for help. As he waited, Kai tried to keep his breathing steady, trying not to panic. He knew that he was lucky to have survived the attack and was grateful for his training and quick thinking that had saved his life. Finally, a nearby boat heard his cries for help and rushed over to rescue him. They pulled him aboard and immediately called for emergency services. Kai was rushed to the hospital where he underwent emergency surgery to repair the damage to his arm. The doctors managed to stop it always easy, and it required a lot of patience and skill. Juan had to know where the fish would likely be, and he had to be able to read the currents and the tides in order to catch them. He spent several hours casting his lines, moving the boat around to different spots, and trying different kinds of bait. Finally, he felt a tug on his line, signaling that he had caught something. He began to reel in his line, feeling the weight of the fish pulling against the rod. When he finally saw the fish, he felt a rush of excitement. It was a large grouper, one of the most prized catches in Florida. He carefully brought the fish onto the boat, taking care to remove the hook and to measure it to make sure it was within the legal size limit. He put the fish into a cooler and then set out to catch more. After several minutes, he felt a strong tug on his line. He knew immediately that it was no ordinary fish. He began to reel in his line, feeling the weight of the creature pulling against his rod. As he brought the fish closer to the boat, he realized that he had caught something big. He could see the dorsal fin cutting through the water, and he knew that it was a shark. He could feel the adrenaline pumping through his veins as he battled the fish, trying to bring it in. Juan had mixed emotions about the catch. On the one hand, he felt a rush of excitement at the thought of catching such a powerful creature. On the other hand, he knew that sharks were dangerous animals, and he wasn't sure if he was equipped to handle one. He carefully pulled the shark closer to the boat, trying to keep a safe distance. As he got a closer look, he could see that it was a bull shark, a species known for its aggression and strength. The shark thrashed and fought against the line, trying to break free. Juan struggled to keep his footing as the boat rocked back and forth in the water. He knew he had to be careful, or the shark could easily pull him overboard. After a 20-minute battle, Juan was finally able to bring the shark up to the side of the boat. He could see its razor-sharp teeth and its powerful jaws. He knew that he had to be careful if he was going to release the shark back into the water. He carefully removed the hook from the shark's mouth and took a few quick photos, wanting to remember the experience. Just as he was about to measure the length of the shark, it began jerking around and bit him on his ankle. Luckily, he was able to pry away its jaws instantly and only left him with minor wounds. Because of this, he immediately decided to lower the shark back to the water. For a moment, the shark seemed disoriented and confused. Then it suddenly surged forward, disappearing into the depths of the ocean. Juan breathed a sigh of relief, feeling grateful for the experience, but also glad that it was over. Juan sat back in the boat and began treating his wounds, watching the waves ripple from where the shark had disappeared. He sailed back to the dock where he sought medical attention. He was sent home immediately after being treated for his minor wounds. Back at home, he told the unbelievable story to his family, and they knew he had just had one of the most thrilling experiences of his life. It was a moment he would never forget, and a reminder of the
Wild coast, abounding with elusive great white sharks, were their destination. The team's enthusiasm grew as the moon's ethereal glow illuminated the turbulent waves, exposing the secrets that awaited them. Sophie's emotions were a mix of excitement and apprehension. As a scientist, she was suspicious of the famous shark stories circling in these seas. Dr. Benjamin Hart, an experienced marine biologist, promised her that this expedition would set new standards in their profession. They were accompanied by Luke Jacobs, a dedicated intern anxious to distinguish himself, and Captain Alex Reynolds, a seasoned sailor intimately acquainted with the oceans. As they approached the investigation site, their excitement grew. The research team methodically arranged underwater cameras and monitoring devices to examine the shark's nocturnal activities. The mood on board was one of admiration and enthusiasm for the wild beauty of the sea. As the night grew darker, the team prepared to observe. Sophie, dressed in her diving gear, requested Luke's assistance in immersing herself in the frigid ocean. The alluring aura of the distant moonlight added to their excitement about the undersea realm. While Sophie investigated beneath the waves, Dr. Hart meticulously watched the ship's data. Captain Alex maintained a close eye on the horizon. The research team found an unusual tendency over time. Great white sharks were more forceful and active at night than during the day. Sophie's excitement was palpable, as seen by her rising pulse rate as she recorded her findings. Their peace was broken when Captain Alex noticed an unexpected disturbance. A drifting kayak with no trace of its occupant piqued his interest. Sophie and Luke scoured the area for clues while Captain Alex steered the boat towards the kayak. Sophie's heart sank as she saw a life jacket entangled in the kayak's paddles and oars. She communicated through a trembling murmur that someone had been present in the vicinity, but was no longer there. The team's uneasiness grew, leading them to broaden their search. Despite hours of searching, they discovered no trace of the missing kayaker. The night engulfed them in an unearthly calm, pushing them to return to the fishing village at dawn to report the alarming discovery. Sophie felt uneasy as she boarded the boat for the second time. She couldn't help but wonder if the local legends held any truth. Was the fabled friend in one of the sharks during the night? It patrolled around the cliffs as if guarding something hidden there. Her ardent curiosity drove her to investigate further. She ventured into the depths and spotted a partially hidden underwater tunnel, which gave her chills because it could be the den of the mythical white shark. Her mind was filled with wonder and astonishment at the unknown universe before her. While Sophie investigated the cave, Luke and Dr. Hart worried about her safety aboard the boat. Their relief was evident when she returned unharmed, but they awaited her discoveries with bated breath. Sophie whispered that she believed something ancient existed within the depths. She thought there was a reason why the sharks kept returning to this cave. Her eyes enlarged with delight. As the night wore on, Sophie became more confident in her conclusions and made plans to return to the tunnel during the day with more advanced equipment to investigate the cause of the shark's unusual behavior. The squad prepared for their most dangerous expedition yet the following day. Sophie and Luke rushed headfirst into the water, determined to continue their study of the cave, methodically documenting their findings. To their surprise, they discovered a hidden underwater cavern filled with ancient antiques, statues, and offerings. This incredible discovery was well beyond their expectations. The cave appeared to be a hallowed site where generations of ocean guardians had paid their homage. The team reviewed the data with awe and excitement back on the boat. The information revealed that the cave was surrounded by ancient rituals and spiritual importance, attracting great white sharks to this mysterious spot. As their investigation into shark behavior advanced, Sophie felt an ever-increasing connection with the sharks. She understood that sharks were integral to the region's culture and not just mindless predators. The news of their remarkable discovery quickly circulated throughout the scientific community, enthralling fans and professionals worldwide. The modest fishing village was transformed into a thriving center for cultural exchange and scientific research. Sophie and her colleagues worked tirelessly in the following weeks to learn more about the great white sharks and the mystery cave waters off the wild coast to participate in the old customs that honored their existence. They were no longer feared monsters, but instead venerated as protectors of the ocean's delicate equilibrium. As a result, the story of the woman and the great white shark blossomed into a story of unification, bridging the gap between human curiosity and the ocean's unfathomable mysteries. The waters off the wild coast remained a zone of surprise and awe, where traditional customs and modern science coexist. The village stood as a tribute to the indestructible tie between people and the untamed wilderness, permanently entangled in the unending seas as the sun sunk below the horizon, painting the sky with. His main goal was to witness those majestic sharks that ruled the waters there. Just thinking about it made his heart race with pure joy. It was like a roller coaster of emotions, but Jack knew it was time to face his fears and embrace this great quest head-on. So with his bags packed and a pumping heart, he was ready to dive into the unknown. The anticipation was palpable as he stepped onto the boat ready to set sail. The wind gently brushed against his face, whispering tales of the incredible adventure that awaited him. Jack reached the diving center where he met the guide, Captain George, an adventurous guy whose twinkling eyes revealed his level of curiosity. Captain George showed him the Shark Hunter. The vessel was specifically established for shark cage diving and had gone on 200-plus expeditions. The sturdy shark cage within the boat was built to provide an up-close encounter with the mighty creatures while ensuring the diver's safety. Moreover, Captain George asked all 5 crew members to pray for their safety before they started their journey. The journey began, and the boat gracefully cut through the crystal blue waters, heading towards the renowned shark-infested feeding grounds. Jack's excitement mingled with a healthy dose of apprehension as they ventured from the shore. The sight of creatures swimming in the expansive sea heightened his sense of awe. Eventually, the boat reached its destination, landing on the feeding grounds. In his sore voice, Captain George said in anticipation, "All right, guys. We are about to suit up and face these magnificent creatures." Jack could feel his heart pounding in his chest. Captain George calmed all the crew members. They were on the lookout for sharks for 10 minutes, but not a single fin broke the surface. The tension grew with each passing second, heightening the suspense that gripped them all. Sensing their escalating nerves, Captain George urged them to maintain control, reminding them that a shark could appear at any moment. Then, in a sudden twist, the silence transformed into hushed whispers as the 5 crew members caught sight of an enormous, majestic shadow. It was unmistakably the outline of a shark, the ocean's most formidable predator. Jack, an experienced hunter of countless small and medium-sized fish, felt a chill run down his spine. This colossal creature was like nothing he had ever encountered before. Jack's eyes were fixed on the giant creature before him as the shadow came nearer and nearer. It was the creature he had always longed to catch a glimpse of. The shark gracefully circled around the cage, its sharp jaws instilling immense fear in Jack. He could feel his amygdala triggering a rush of hormones down to his legs. The cage trembled as the shark began to bite, sending vibrations through them all. Fear gripped everyone, and the crew members' screams filled the air. But Captain George remained surprisingly calm. He instructed the crew to observe the magnificent creature, emphasizing that such an opportunity wouldn't come again. The shark's colossal, muscular body showcased nature's sheer power and precision. Now the crew members regained their composure and found solace in the marvels of nature. Captain George, utilizing the underwater communication system, skillfully managed to keep them at ease. Suddenly, the shark's mouth opened wide, capturing everyone's attention. They all noticed a significant change in the shark's behavior, and it suddenly became more aggressive. The crew members could sense the erratic nature of this creature and its strong desire for fresh human flesh. Captain George also became anxious when the shark forcefully slammed against the cage, causing one of the bars to bend under the intense strain. It was a moment of panic for everyone. Captain George quickly communicated with the support team, stressing the need for immediate action. He rallied the crew members, encouraging them to gather their courage and maintain their composure. Just as they tried to regain their balance, the shark slammed into the cage again, bringing it to the brink of collapse. In a decisive move, Captain George ordered them to dive into the sea and swim towards the shore. They rushed outside the cage through the emergency gate, with Jack being the last to face the pressure waves. The shark relentlessly tried to break through the bars and enter the cage, leaving only Jack and Captain George inside. As Captain George instructed Jack to make a hasty exit, they encountered a sudden surge of pressure that resisted their movements. Despite their best efforts to resist, the force of the opposing waves overwhelmed them, propelling both swimmers straight into the shark's jaws. They vanished into the darkness of the water pressure, even from within. Captain Alex was guiding about the marine habitat. Mandy was constantly capturing the view. Their excitement always turned into disappointment wherever they observed water pollution. Captain Alex told them about the sufferings of underwater habitat because of the factory waste thrown in the oceans. Mandy wished to clean the underwater habitat to make it easier for these beautiful creatures.
As they landed in Honolulu, they were greeted by the sun and warm, salty breeze and the sound of waves crashing against the shore. They checked into their cozy beachfront cottage and immediately fell in love with the stunning scenery around them. And as they stepped onto the sand, they felt like they were in paradise. The first few days of their honeymoon were spent surfing some of the best waves in the world. They visited Waikiki Beach, where they rode the gentle waves and watched the local surfers show off their skills. They also went to the North Shore, where they challenged themselves with the bigger, more powerful waves. They also hiked through the lush rainforest, and they visited the historic Pearl Harbor Memorial. On the second week of their honeymoon, they decided to visit the island of Maui. There, they rented a Jeep and drove along the scenic road to Hana, taking in breathtaking views of the coastline. One day, they decided to try their luck at a secluded surf spot that they had heard about from the locals. It was a hidden gem, surrounded by stunning cliffs and crystal clear water. As they paddled out, they noticed that there was no other surfers around.